If Muhammad was the seal of the prophets, if he did come to correct the errors of time, and if God really did put a sword in his hands to ensure that none but Allah, that's the Arabic word for God, could and should be worshipped publicly, then our duty is to follow him. And I considered, what if it's true? And then I decided, after some time, study, reflection, pondering, no, it's not true. It's a lie from the pit of hell. There were a lot of reasons. I'm going to give you two of them. Number one is that inherent to the Mohammedan message is that the sword is needed by God for the propagation of the Islamic faith. I say it again. Inherent in Islam, in the very foundation of Islam, is the truth, the concept, according to them, that the sword is needed for the propagation of the Islamic faith. And by sword, what I mean is threat of killing, and once people convert, that you use the sword to keep them. So I studied the life of Muhammad. And Muhammad, in the first period of his life, the first period of his mission, was very peaceful. He lived in Mecca, he sang songs, he wrote poems, he preached, and for quite a number of years, without much success, he maybe had 200 converts, away from polytheism, the worship of many gods, to the worship of one God, Allah, the Arabic word for God. And there was a plot to kill Muhammad, so he left, went to Medina. His followers went to Medina with him, where he became a fairly significant political figure and judge. And from Medina, things changed to the use of the sword. The Battle of Badr was the first significant battle. And without going into that element, or the series of wars and bloodsheds and murders and assassinations that happened with Muhammad at the head of them, and murders and assassinations that happened at Muhammad's order. You can find many of those details at our website, or you can just get yourself a copy of the Hadith, or go online and read copies of the Hadith, and you'll see for yourself. The most important book you could read is by Ibn Ishaq, Life of the Prophet Muhammad. You can find out how to get that at our website as well. Anyway, as I looked at this change in Muhammad, where the sword became central, and then after Muhammad died, the first caliph, the first successor of Muhammad, Abu Bakr, had to use the sword to bring back almost all of the Arabian Peninsula. After Muhammad died, the Arabian Peninsula was under his power. People said, we're Muslims, we're Muslims. Muhammad dies, and then they say, man, that's over with, we're done with that. And Abu Bakr says, oh no, you're not. And he reconquered the entire Arabian Peninsula with the sword. And Abu Bakr talked about the fact that people converted to us, whether of a free will or with the sword, or fear of the sword. He said, and we didn't care how they converted. But once they did, they were God's protégés under his protection. And so I saw that the sword was central to the foundation of Islam. And I thought, any God that is so weak that he has to rely on the steel of human swords cannot be true. Because think about it, God is almighty, all right? God is the ruler of the universe. God has within his hands the soul of every human being. God can pull the plug on any human that he wants and they die. Why would he need the sword? Why would he need frail human beings to threaten to cut off people's heads, or else? Worship God, Allah, or else. Off with your head. And I thought, this isn't true. And then another critical reason was the foundation of the Christian church was built upon the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And the early apostles, his first apostles, fleeing from him, right, abandoning him, but then seeing him raised from the dead, and then each of them, one at a time, going to their death, to their martyrdom, solely based upon the profession of their faith, Jesus is Lord, and God raised him from the dead. Okay? All they had to do was to say, we made it up. All right? Now, as with the Mohammedan religion, the Roman authorities, or the authorities where the apostles were, often did put a knife to their throat, all right, either in reality or in concept, and said to them in so many words, deny this faith, deny Jesus is God, and deny that you saw him raised from the dead, and we'll let you live. Okay? Well, not one of them did it. They all forsook Christ, except for John. They all forsook him at the moment of his passion, and they hid. But then after they saw him with their eyes as eyewitnesses, after they saw him alive, they were willing to go to their death, to say, you can kill me, you can hang me on a cross upside down, you can flay my skin, you can cut my head off. It doesn't matter. I saw Jesus raised from the dead. I know he's alive. And he will come again, and he will judge the living and the dead. And they all went to their grave, refusing to turn from that testimony. Men don't lie and then hold on to that lie. Not 11 men. Not in the face of death. No, they don't lie for something like that. That was a true testimony, people. That was a true testimony. So, based upon those two things and several other elements, I just thought Muhammad was a liar. He was a deceiver. He was a murderer. And he did adopt elements of the Judeo faith and the Christian faith, but he perverted them. He corrupted them. It wasn't that the Jews and the Christians corrupted their texts. It was that Muhammad was the corrupter of the faith. And then, like the ancient pagan gods of Greece and Rome, wanted the authorities of that day to take the sword up and make sure that everyone under their power stayed in the Grecian god world or in the Roman god world. Muhammad took up the sword and said, you're going to worship Allah. That was another reason. It was a sign of a false religion, that it was an echo of the Grecian religions or the Roman religions of the past. I said, no, it's not true. It's a lie. And I will stay with our Lord Jesus Christ and the testimony of his apostles who said, he is not dead, but alive.